Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Peter, I'm great. How are you today?
Oh, good. We've got a something different today for Thursday 3.
Yes.
Look where we are. We are at the lovely Harbortown Golf Links. Look at this. The subject of so many of your shots.
I wonder which ones you're talking about, my golf shots or my picture taking.
Yes.
It's certainly not my golf.
So many great shots. So I had the experience of seeing the Michael J. Fox movie Still.
Yeah.
And I was so moved by it, I said, I gotta talk to somebody about it. And I thought, who better than Vice Chairman of the Michael J. Fox Foundation, Jeff Keefer.
Well, it's an outstanding piece of work from my viewpoint.
I felt it was so authentic.
That's the word I would use. I think what you saw was the true Michael, and he didn't pull any punches. And
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by it is that it was honest, and whereas he could have hid that he was a substance abuser, he didn't. He chose to bring all of that out, and of course, in the end, he overcame it, and Tracy was a big part of that in terms of her challenge to him.
Right.
But I think the fact that authenticity should give people confidence that, that's the true story.
Yeah.
They chose some fun things as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it made the documentary brought that alive, I thought.
It was a movie to me.
Yeah.
It was less of a documentary and more of a movie.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it as a movie.
And I think, and the clips really brought that. I love when Back to the Future came on. I was waiting for that.
I think so many of us in that generation, he was just a megastar.
Yeah. Well, I actually think some of his on-camera work that showed him when he's off or, under some kind of stress that the symptoms are going to show through. I think all of us, to one degree or another, have that happen from time to time. And so underneath what's going on. And by and large, the drugs and now my deep brain stimulation take care of it, but not all the time.
Yeah, he talked about going on set at Spin City and just the pressure. Are my drugs going to stop working?
Yeah.
And he was terrified.
And you do, after a period of time, wonder about those kinds of things. Or, is your DBS, is the current on today,
Yeah.
And so I thought that was important to me and to others probably in the Parkinson's community. I think the fact that he's doing something about it was also inspirational and also helpful, because it shows that Parkinson's is a condition that's no fun.
Right.
It doesn't mean you don't have a life, and you don't, you can,
Right.
depending upon your condition, usually give back in some way that's meaningful. And I don't mean give back, but I mean you can have a purpose in life.
When did you notice your first tremor?
Oh my gosh, it was about a year before I was actually diagnosed, so that was 2007, 2006 time frame, yeah.
And was it a left pinky like his?
No, mine was right here.
In your arm.
This was jumping regularly
Your
in my
forearm.
arm, yeah. And so I told my family physician, she said, "Oh, that's interesting." She said, "I think it's a benign tremor. Many people have them. They can be treated with medication, so let's do that." And after about 6 months of treatment, not only was the tremor still there, it was worse. And I started to drag my right foot, which was really the thing that kind of tipped it over. And then we kicked it into gear to find out what was going
Right.
on. And, was it a stroke? And it's really through process of elimination. Much of the diagnosis is done.
It's interesting, a stroke. It presents itself probably similarly that way.
Yeah, they look for stroke, tumor,
Yeah.
all because they're beginning to be able to image and see some things that can be attributed to Parkinson's. But
Right.
back in 2007, there was nothing, and so it was through process of elimination primarily, and the observation of the doctors.
And
But it took the better part of a year to get on the medication because they weaned you, if you will, onto each compound. And there was a certain order that those were given in. And that way the doctor could come back and see after 2 or 3 months, how did that work? Is it working? And then what's the next thing to add if we need to add something? And so it took about a year for me to get on the whole suite of compounds that I was taking at the time.
but it was not too long ago you were on the front cover of the journal with another solution.
After a period of time, my case about 15 years, the meds aren't as effective. They have side effects, and this was the latest technology then, the DBS, deep brain stimulation, to help with those. And again, doesn't affect the course of the disease, but it does alleviate the symptoms.
Michael's movements are so exaggerated. Yours are not. Is it different forms of Parkinson's, or is it just different ways it presents, or is it different treatments?
It's really the name of that is dyskinesia, and it's again a side effect of the medication. That if you take it for a very long time, you develop dyskinesias. In fact, I'm a little dyskinetic right now. Stress can bring on a little bit of it, so I'm under a lot of stress here. But no, so yeah, that's the dyskinesia, and it's a fact of life for most people that have Parkinson's at some point.
So he would talk about waiting for the bus. You know, he would take his pill, waiting for the bus. People would say, "Are you on the bus yet?" And he's like, "Okay, I'm on the bus." You could feel it kick in.
It's like that, you know, because here you are, the symptoms have returned. It's not very pleasant when you're symptomatic, and I had never used that term, "here's the bus," but I know exactly when that medication kicks in.
Right, right.
And,
I saw him playing his guitar in Glasgow, England with Coldplay.
yeah,
I mean, he was a proficient guitarist, and he still can play?
and I think that is, you know, I don't know that we know why, but music seems to be something that the symptoms are still there, but it overcomes it. Every year he plays the gala, and he's played with the Coldplay person for
Yeah.
that, Sting, excuse me, whoever it is, he's up there at least for the final set playing his guitar.
So inspiring. And if you remember in the early movies, he actually played in the movies too.
Yeah, well, if you look at Back to the Future, he played in that.
Yeah, he's a good guitarist.
And guess what? That guitar is sitting in his office in a stand, ready to play anytime.
Oh my God, that's so awesome. After he was diagnosed, he continued to have kids.
Yeah, so the honest answer is we don't know. We always used to say that there was not. But I think now we're seeing evidence that it could be. And with all the discoveries that have gone on under, you know, cancer and other areas where there is something with the genes genetically, that it could be
Right.
associated with that.
Yeah, I can get that. How do you find ways to perform or keep moving forward, you know, when this disease feels so, you know, kind of limiting?
Well, I think, first of all, I think if you think of it as limiting, that's already, you've thrown in
lost.
about half the towel, yeah. You know, I think of the condition as part of my life, but it's not my life.
Right.
Number one. Number two, I focus on the positives, which look at all the people I've met. Would I have met Michael J. Fox before? No.
Right.
Would I have met you? No. How about all the doctors and researchers? So, my life, I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but having said that, my life is a lot richer than it ever would have been. And I think it's important that you hold that up for yourself and hold it up for others, so that's a little bit where the hope is. And then the last thing is keep busy as hell.
So still was
take
meaningful.
Pictures, do videos, do whatever it takes. But
Still was meaningful to you.
yeah.
This disease has helped me get people to do things they would have never done before on their own.
Well, I think that's what we're talking about a little bit with the people that you meet and get engaged in the fight. I think it gives you permission to ask for help, financially and otherwise, and along with that comes some obligation to report back and that sort of thing. But
people step up. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
I feel like there's good in everybody, and they're looking for an outlet, right?
I think that's right. Yeah,
And
I
he
think,
gives you an outlet that feels good, that is making a difference. You see the difference.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it, Peter. I think that in my own case, the photos make me feel good. I tell people I have fun doing them, and I do. And so, hopefully the customer gets something that's worthwhile and resonates
Right.
with them, and the foundation gets some money to do some research, and I get to have fun.
Right.
And that's what retirement's all about in my mind.
Well, making a difference and having fun. When you put the two together, that's a great
Yeah.
connection. So $2 billion have been raised so far.
Yep.
And I remember that picture of Michael sitting in front of
Congress.
Congress, sitting there and begging for money.
Yep.
And basically, I took from that was, if they're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And he had Muhammad Ali sitting next to him.
Yep.
You got two of the most powerful figures of our lifetime right there,
Right.
saying, "Come on."
Yeah.
Is
So-
the government supporting it some more?
Well, it's interesting. We talked about that last night. For the first time, Congress now, both sides of the House, approved late last year a 5-year plan to eliminate Parkinson's.
Wow.
And I don't know that that's well known yet, but yes. Now, nothing has been put in programmatically, and with the new administration, people are trying to figure out who
What does it
approach
mean?
how
Yeah.
and so forth, so that you can now hang some ornaments
That's
on that
pretty
tree.
exciting.
Yeah,
That's really exciting.
yeah. Foundation wants to, over the next several years, run a capital campaign.
Right.
I think so. We've learned a lot, and there's been important discoveries with the biomarker and so forth, but we still haven't driven across the finish line. And it's like a lot of research. You get one answer, and it raises 5 other questions or 10 other questions that really do need to be answered to kind of figure out what's going on, what needs to happen.
Can you go back to donors and tell them specifically what has happened? Have you got? Is it making a dent?
I think you can go back, and you can, because each program has objectives, and were the objectives met? If they weren't, why not? That's all kept track of at the foundation, and it's one of the things that, in some cases, I have some good friends that are researchers that have been funded by the foundation, and almost to a person, they've come to me and said, "Why do we have to go in quarterly and report back on our objectives?" And I said, "Because that's the way it is, and that's the smart thing to do."
Yeah.
And so that's all kept track of, and even when something, quote, fails, I don't consider anything a failure. It's a learning experience.
Right.
And yeah, maybe it didn't work the way we intended, But I've also seen things in my career that weren't ready for prime time, and 5-10 years later, you come back and you go, "That's the missing piece,"
Right.
and then you
Right.
put that back in the puzzle again.
That's awesome. I think the more awareness that gets out there, that the help and the progress is being made, I think that actually will help with contributions. You
Oh,
know, the difference is the biomarkers are there. You know, people are the ABS surgery, or I don't know the DBS surgery. I mean, that progress is being made.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, the DBS surgery, it's 20 years old now, but the placements they're able to do with these electrodes and stuff is exquisite with the new MRI technology that's out there. So, yeah.
but your
you're
golf
right.
stroke is still not getting better.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Probably never will.
As much DBS, it's not going to work.
No.
All right.
Because you don't have to be in a leadership position to lead. And I think that that it's all about being genuine with people and being authentic. Some of the things we've already talked about, being honest. You know, I often say, if I'm talking with someone, are you going to tell it straight to me? Are you going to be honest about it? You know, that's all about the integrity piece. And so I think that comes number one. And if you can establish that, then the other pieces are, do you know what you're talking about? It's kind of subject matter. And you know, you're connected in a way that's unique, that you can get information that is shareable, but others don't have.
Yeah.
And I'm in the position that for the last several years have been able to have access to that information.
Yeah, and
Well, I think that, you know, this notion of life goes on and you can't make a contribution would be number one. And two, hopefully it will spur some people on to get involved with Parkinson's.
mm-hmm.
Now, there are other very important disease conditions that are being worked on, and I don't want to in any way indicate that this one's more important than another. They're all important. But this one is a challenge because you just don't have, we're not as far along as some of the other conditions. And well, it would be a message of hope, and it would be that it's probably going to be okay. And I would say the things that you normally do to take care of yourself, sleep, eat right, exercise, keep on doing that, because that's going to hold you in good stead. And with that, and staying socially engaged, and I think we underestimate the importance of that, by the way, to stay socially engaged and be able to have a conversation with Peter.
Right.
That's important. And with that kind of formula, I think anything's possible.
Nice.